Hello there and welcome to the forest once again. I have done one more test between CCD and CMOS sensor cameras, and this time I tested Canon and Nikon, because in my previous tests I only used Nikon cameras, and well, I guess maybe the Canons use a bit different manufacturers for the sensors and have a bit different color science. The cameras I chose are the Nikon D200 and a Canon EOS 30D, and the reason I chose these cameras is because they are quite close in time to each other, kinda contemporary, like 1 year difference, and they are both APS-C sensor cameras, so I can use the same lens and have the same perspective. Of course the cameras don't exactly correspond to each other. I mean, the 30D is more of a prosumer level camera, while the D200 is a, well, semi-professional camera, so it has better weather sealing and more advanced functions and more dedicated buttons and so on and so forth. But yeah, the 30D is not a bad camera either. It's quite a nice camera, and I have at least one review of it on my channel. So I've already shot the photos for this test. Wouldn't be so much photos to shoot today anyway, because it's really rainy and dull. And well, the method I'm using is basically the same subject in the preferably same light and same exposure settings. When it comes to the exposure settings, the ISO might be a bit different because they don't correspond between cameras like 1:1 usually. Even though it's a standard, it's not always the same. I don't use a tripod in this test because I want to shoot, let's say, real world scenes, and they can change quickly, the light and so on. So I guess that's one weakness perhaps. If I had a tripod I could have the exact same view, but it's not that important. I think it's more important that I shoot real world scenes, things that I would actually take pictures of. And of course, if you wanted to have a very scientifically correct test, you would do it in a studio with test charts and so on, but in any case I want to keep the results more relevant for what I actually use these cameras for. And then finally they are edited the same way. I first edit one photo and copy paste the settings, so then the photo editing program should not matter also, or that's the idea at least. So the results are kind of similar to previous tests, that in daylight the colors are not, and dynamic range is not that different from each other. The D200 photos they are a bit warmer when it comes to white balance, and the greens are a bit more green or warmer green or something like that. But this can easily be compensated by editing, so you can just edit the 30D files and it looks sort of the same. Not exactly, but kind of similar. I mean, overall there's not a huge difference between the colors between these cameras. Of course, if you shoot JPEG files, then you will probably have much more of a difference, but then you're comparing the JPEG parameters or JPEG processing between each cameras. When it comes to low light, and again as in the previous tests, there is where you see the difference between CCD and CMOS, because CMOS sensors have less noise. The D200 has more, let's say, aggressive or pronounced noise. And I think this sort of noise looks a bit nicer because some cameras like the Nikon D200 has some noise removal in the actual raw files, it seems, because the noise, it looks like some processing has been done to it. The Nikon D200 files also show some effects that don't appear on the 30D files. For example, this purple glow in the corner. It does not appear a similar thing on the 30D, so I don't think it's a lens flare. It seems to be what is called amp glow, or basically infrared light leaking into the sensor and causing this color cast in the corner. And this is not something which is specific for CCD sensors. It's more like if you have overheating in the camera, and I think it's more likely to appear on CCD sensors. But I have not had it show this strong on a D200 before, even though I have shot 1600, 3200 and so on. I had it show up on a Nikon D100 on a 30-second exposure, which was shot at 1600. So I don't know, it shouldn't show up at this ISO on a D200, but I guess under the right circumstances it can apparently do so. And one more detail on the D200, if you look at this light, you can see there is some kind of purple fringing or edges around it, and this again does not appear on the 30D, and I'm not sure why this happens. This might be something CCD specific. I'm trying to find the right term. What is it called? CCD smearing, I think it's called. Might be something like that. There are more glitches on the D200, And well, that's one more reason to like the night photos on the D200 more, if you want to have a, let's say, more glitchy, noisy look on the photos. And the Nikon D200 has one more advantage, and it has, well, 10 megapixels as compared to the 30D, which has 8 megapixels. Not a huge difference, but it does make a small difference, at least in daylight. I know I will probably get crucified in the comments for suggesting that the Nikon and Canon files are not so different from each other when it comes to colors, but I don't know, they don't really look that different. They have sort of the similar vibe as other cameras from this era have, like DSLRs. So they have a bit of a typical DSLR look from the time. Now there are cameras that have a very different look, for example the Sigma Foveon. Haven't tested those cameras so much, but the raw files, they look different when it comes to colors and the structure of the photos and so on. Yeah, I think this is all for this video. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye!